Speed is a major risk factor in road crashes, determining both the risk of a road crash happening and the severity of injuries that can result from the road crash. Many modern vehicles that are driving on our roads are capable of reaching very high driving speeds. This therefore leaves the responsibility to the driver of the vehicle to ensure that they drive at safe and permissible speeds to ensure the safety of all road users. Unfortunately, every day we witness many drivers on the road driving at speeds that pose a high risk of causing a road crash. We also see many people who are permanently disabled by road crashes, and we know people whose lives have been cut short by road crashes resulting from overspeeding.
Speed is a major risk, more especially in causing injuries and deaths. Speed may not necessarily cause an accident on its own, but should an accident occur, when the speed is high, the crash impact is going to be very high, because scientifically, force is as a result of movement, kinetic energy that comes from the speed. So as a result, we note that in fact, we have realized that a lot of accidents that we are registering nowadays that are claiming lives and causing serious injuries are associated with loss of control. On a weekly basis, between around 40 to 50%, even up to 60% of the crashes that we record are always associated with loss of control. And that may be linked with speed, because speed affects vehicle stability, which as a result will lead to loss of control.
Different roads have speed limits which have been set as the maximum legal speeds that vehicles may travel at for that stretch of road, and is indicated by a traffic sign displaying the value of that speed limit. Overspeeding happens when a vehicle is driving at speeds above the set limit, or that is too fast for the prevailing road conditions.
What we have noted is people are driving far beyond 120, especially those who are driving, modern vehicles. These vehicles are able to go up to 200 kilometers per hour. And that is what is the problem.
It is one of the major contributors to the rising number of injuries and fatalities on our roads, especially among young people.
Overspeeding, or should I say speeding, determines the outcome of a crash. If the vehicle was moving at very high speeds, you would expect that the injuries to be incurred there are going to be very, very serious, or even include or result in loss of life.
As the driving speed increases beyond the limit, the risk of a road crash happening increases, and if the road crash were to result, the severity of the injuries increases as the speed of the crash increases, leading to high chances of severe injuries or even death.
Speed before pre-crash, during the crash, and post-crash is going to affect the whole process. So if you are speeding, you are likely to be involved in an accident. And if you are involved in an accident, you are likely to die at the scene of the accident. But if you survive, it's going to be very difficult for you to be removed from the scene. Then at the end, you are likely to die.
Speed limit in highly populated areas are set low to warn drivers about the high possibility of pedestrians walking next to the road, other vehicles, and buildings in the area. A low speed limit enables the driver to drive at speeds that allow them to respond timelessly to avoid a potential obstacle and avert a road crash. Road conditions such as potholes or flooding may compel the driver to further reduce the speed. In such situations, a driver must make an assessment to reduce the speed and prevent a road crash. Another factor that should alert the driver to reduce speed is the condition of their vehicle. Old or mechanically faulty vehicles must not be driven at high speeds due to their likelihood of developing mechanical failure, leading to a crash. If a vehicle is moving along the road and the driver is alerted to a potential danger on the road, the distance from the point at which the driver spots the danger to the danger on the road is the distance available for the driver to safely bring the vehicle to a stop and avert an accident. The driving speed of the vehicle determines the stopping distance that the driver has to bring the vehicle to a stop. If the vehicle is moving at slow speed, the stopping distance is small and the driver has a high likelihood of preventing a crash. However, the higher the driving speed of the vehicle, the larger the stopping distance needed to stop the vehicle, increasing the chances of a crash. Overspeeding affects the ability of the driver to respond timelessly to potential dangers on the road, and many vehicles have succumbed to road crashes mainly due to delayed reaction times caused by driving at high speeds. At high speeds, distant objects are arriving very fast, leaving little time to react to a danger and avoid an accident.
If you drive fast, obviously you will not be able to stop within a shorter distance than you will when you are driving at a slower pace. So in terms of responding to an emergency, it will not be possible to have a successful evasive action when you are driving at a faster speed. If I maybe just take an example, when you drive, for instance, if you are driving in a built-up area like within the city, where the speed limit should be 60 or even less, depending on the traffic congestion and the presence of the pedestrians and people walking around. If you are driving at 80 kilometers per hour, which is mostly common within the city, it means when you look at it closely, you are actually doing 22 meters per second, which means that should anything gets on your way, maybe about 30 meters ahead of you, you need about a second and a half for you to have responded. So that's one of those things that we normally never are conscious of when we drive. That the higher the speed, the shorter the time you need for you to have responded to an emergency situation.
Driving at a high speed makes a vehicle very difficult to control and more likely to lose traction on the road and overturn. Majority of road crashes involve issues with loss of control, which is a preventable but highly represented cause of road accidents. Overspeeding increases the rate at which tire treads wear due to increased friction that is transferred onto the tires when driving at high speeds. This can result in uneven tire wear from going through corners at high speeds or bald patches from fierce braking when driving fast. A worn-out tire is costly to replace and with prolonged use can pose a risk of tire failure, resulting in bursting at a high speed.
The higher the speed, the more the grip, and obviously the tire will wear out much quicker than the normal way.
In Botswana, cases of overspeeding are very high, and the high rate of serious road traffic injuries and fatalities are a clear indication that the challenge of overspeeding caused to road users in Botswana.
Speed is the major cause of these fatalities, and mind you, you will have a crash now, and out of that crash you will have people getting injured, but not any one of them losing his or her life. These people will go to the hospitals, and some of them will stay there for weeks or months. But later, they will end up losing their lives, because of those injuries that they sustained during the crash. What does this tell us? It's an indication that, some of these crashes end up with severe injuries, and these severe injuries are as a result of the speed of the vehicle at the time of the crash. That's why your injuries will be prolonged even while you are under, medical care at the hospital. You will still end up dying, and it's because of the complications of the injuries that you will have come as a result of overspeeding.
The nature of injuries from road crash is directly related to the speed at which the vehicle was traveling during the road crash impact.
So normally one of the circumstantial evidence that we get from Botswana police is when they bring the road reconstruction experts from them. So those will then bring us the speed that the car was traveling. And then we're looking at the pattern of the injuries that we note at the postmortem. We have noted that the higher the speed, the severe the injuries. The higher the speed, the multiplicity of injuries also are noted. So therefore we can confidently say the more the speed, the more these injuries, and the more you are likely to die.
What determines the type of the injuries that you get at the end of the crash is the speed that you have been driving at. And most people are overspeeding and they don't even want to hear the advice when we say speed kills, but speed do kill. You know what? You don't get involved in a road traffic accident because you are a bad driver. You can get involved because of other people's mistakes. But at the time of the crash, what is going to save your life is the speed that you are driving at. If it's a low speed, it will, mitigate against the injury. But if it's a high speed, it's going to aggravate the injuries. Hence, a lot of people end up losing their lives because of speed.
At low speeds, the chances of avoiding a road crash are very high, and if a crash occurs, chances are that no injuries are sustained. As the speed increases, injuries sustained from the road crash may include small bruises which are not likely to cause any long-term injuries. As the speed of the crash increases, the chances of more serious injuries also increase, which may result in broken bones and more life-altering disabilities, leaving one to be permanently bound to a wheelchair. In very high-speed accidents, the injuries sustained range from permanent disability to death. The higher the speed, the greater the likelihood of severe injury or death. One of the most effective ways of reducing overspeeding is to continuously raise awareness about the danger of overspeeding and educate drivers to obey the speed limit at all times. Many drivers, especially the youth, need to be constantly reminded about the dangers of overspeeding and taught the positive behaviors they need to follow when using the roads. The Motor Vehicle Accident Fund and other road safety stakeholders such as the Botswana Police Service, the Department of Road Transport and Safety, and the Department of Roads, together with others, continue to hold public education campaigns at strategic points on major highways. These educational campaigns are meant to sensitize the population about the dangers of risky behaviors such as overspeeding that continue to claim the lives of many Botswana, cutting short promising lives and destroying families left behind. Other means of reducing overspeeding is to set clear road traffic rules for maximum allowed speeds in all areas and ensuring that the set rules are enforced with the option to issue penalties where offenses have been committed. This is a proven method that causes drivers to behave in accordance with the law. The Botswana Police Service is responsible for enforcing speed limits on major highways and high accident zones.
Yeah, we have a number of interventions and we have been coming up with initiatives after initiatives over the years. Some of the initiatives are working. Some of the initiatives we have reviewed and we have, changed them and gone for new ones. But, we are having, for example, the Highway Patrol team program that we are using as Botswana Police. And this is a program where we have zoned our highways, especially the long highways like the A1, the A2 and the A3. And with this highway patrol team program, we have been having it for a number of years now. And we keep on enhancing it and, adding some new things to it in terms of equipment and so forth. And it's working fine for us. It needs to be improved from time to time, but it's working for us because we are able to conduct speed relays along our highways where one zone will be, conducting speed, the other one and so forth, so that when you think you can, dodge this speed operation, you will be done. You will keep on coming across other speed operations. That is what is working for us.
In light of continuing speeding violations, the penalties for exceeding the speeding limit were increased to further deter drivers from driving at high speeds. But this has not yielded the desired outcomes, as behavior patterns among drivers continue to indicate that drivers are not obeying speeding limits despite their awareness of the road signs and the penalties for violations.
The higher the speed, the more injuries a person sustains. And also we have to remember that where you are placed in the car also contribute to the type of injuries that you will be having. He was earlier on talking about the driver, that the injuries will be the steering wheel impact. It will be on the right side of the face because the car this side has windows and the part of the body. But when you are a passenger, the injuries are on the left side. And remember there are 2-3 people who in a car who will be at the back. So the two who are at the back on both sides of the car, one will have the right injuries more concentrated on the right side. The left one will have more injuries concentrated on the left side. And the one who is in the middle is the one that, like when you have an accident, can also fly off and get out of or thrown out through the windscreen. So that is how bad accidents are in this country.
The message of speed kills is one which everyone must take heed of. By disobeying the law and driving at high speeds, we risk causing permanent injury or disability and even death to ourselves and other road users. It is always better to arrive safely at your destination than never to arrive due to a road crash.
Ke ne ka latlhegelwa ke ra go bongwana ke ka kotsi ya koloi ka di 18 tsa December 2009. Ka sala le bana ka lebagana le go tlhokomela bana, mme ka thuso ya ba MVA through the office ya Kokang ba ne ba nthusa ga nna motlhofu, le through the parents ba me borra Matuntu le family ya ra bone ra Molusi ko gantsi.
Basically, public education for the MVA Fund, it's just about the promotion of products and services. In the unfortunate event that someone is involved in a car crash, they should be in a position to be able to lodge a claim with MVA Fund, and they should be knowledgeable about the products and services that the fund offers.
Bane ba nthusa thata ka lenaneo la bone la loss of support. Mo ba fa madi to bana gore ba kgone go tshela ka one mo education le in their daily life.
We've got 4 main benefits, which is the medical undertaking, the funeral expenses, the loss of support, and the loss of income or the loss of earnings.
Me batho ba MV ba ne ba nthusa ba ntsela go GPH ko ba ne ba ntwella bongaka teng gore ke bone thuso e botoka. Ka boa ka wela marina ka boa ka dischargiwa ka ta mo Mau mo e leng gore ne ka fudisa botsadi jaaka e setse ke buile gore ke motho wa ko Reikops ka ba fudisetsa mo Mau mabakeng a ditamelo ba MVA ba re thusa through the service ya love so support ba nthusa ka service ya go ntuela medication ba nthusa ka service ya go duela ba physio for transport gore yo gone go a physio ke se ka nna fela ba tswella ba nthusa ka go modify room e ke nna mo go yone gore ke gone go na le access.
There are a number of benefits or services that is provided by the MVA fund, mainly depending on the kind of injury that one suffered in a road crash. The first one that we promote a bit more being medical and rehabilitation expenses. You know, nowadays, or let's say when an accident happens, people get injured in road accidents in varying degrees. Some suffer minor injuries, some suffer severe injuries. So the kind of benefit that we provide will depend on that kind of injury that one suffered.
The very first thing to do is to report an accident. As MVA Fund, we can only be able to offer you assistance if the road crash has been reported, because that's the most important document, the police report. And once that has been done, they can visit the nearest MVA Fund branch office and collect the claim forms, which they will also need in order for them to lodge a claim. And once that has been done, they can lodge a claim with MVA Fund, and they will be informed about the process of the status of their claim once that has been done.
This benefit starts right from the accident scene, where we have contracts, kind of agreements with us, emergency medical service providers, being ambulances for government and the private sector. We have agreements with these service providers so that they can evacuate road accident victims from the scenes to the hospitals. So we pay those EMS companies to evacuate claimants from or injured people from the road accident scene to the hospitals. Even at the hospital, we have agreements with the various hospitals, being government and the private hospitals. We pay for the medical bills for someone who's hospitalized in those hospitals. And then even after discharge from hospital, the MVA Fund follows up these claimants to ensure that the environment is conducive for the healing process even in their respective homes.
Ke se ke leboga office ya MVA thata ka gore ke yone e dirang gore ga re tsoga re tsosa ditsogo go ba re leboga modimo re itse gore ka thuso ya bone re ta phela. Sengwe le sengwe se a go nna motlhofo a ke wheelchair e senyegile jaaka ba intekesi ga e senyega ba e baakanya ke sone se ke tswelelang ke leboga ba MVA ba ofisi ya Ratlhangwane go tsweng hela go ya kang go fitlhela mo go ya Maung ke re ba tswelele fela ya ka lorato le ba lefa batho.
And then the other benefits that MVA Fund gives out to those injured in road accidents, there's a benefit called loss of income. Loss of income, these are monies that is paid out to someone who was economically active prior to the accident, but after the accident they are incapacitated. So MVA Fund steps in the picture and ensures that this person also is given something so that they can sustain their lives. The other benefit is for funeral expenses. Funeral expenses is a benefit that is given to someone who regrettably they die in an accident. So MVA Fund pays an amount of 7,500 for the burial process, to assist in the burial process of that person. So the other main benefit that is provided by the fund is loss of support. Loss of support is a benefit that is given to the dependents of someone who died or perished in a road accident. You find that when someone dies in a road accident, they leave behind a number of dependents that they were relying on that particular person, be it children, the spouse, or relatives. So that person or dependent, they have to come to MVF and then put up a claim and prove that indeed they were depending on that on the deceased person.
Join us again in the next episode as we look at other road user behaviors and actions that lead to road crashes, as we explore desirable ways to keep us all safer on the road.